Hey everybody, it's Dave with No Chaser, and today's topic is about the addiction treatment drug known as Suboxone or buprenorphine. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, quick disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. I mean, I look like one, but no, I'm not a doctor. This is a. You should not refer to me for any sort of medical advice, please. Oh my God, don't. But this is just a brief overview of just sort of the like down to earth um, understanding of Suboxone, how it works in addiction and recovery, some of the philosophies behind it, some of the contradicting ideas. And I've had some experience with myself because I'm cool. I've been addicted to drugs like a real cool guy. Um, and basically how it works. So Suboxone is, like I said, it's made as an a sort of combatant to addiction to what is known as now opioid use disorder. Basically, you're super addicted to painkillers, heroin, fentanyl, morphine, all that good stuff. And now the way it works is it's a sort of newer-ish drug in that it was created, and it's like many people, it's in the same sort of ideal as like methadone, for instance. It's different from methadone though, but it is an idea of that it works the same way as in where this is like the important part to remember is that it is, you know, where these controversies and sort of the philosophies about recovery kind of clash is that it's not about getting high or anything like that, but it does provides a certain effect of the it's like it's synthetic like an opioid like high. But here's a big difference between like Suboxone and methadone is that Suboxone, like methadone, provides that sort of typical the synthetic medicinal sort of opioid feeling type of, again, it's really tricky to use the word high, but it's different because it's in a sort of this more measured just subdued sort of way where a lot of people as they get addicted where it starts really increasing is when they start shooting up. You get the blast, you get the like really big high, and this is not like that. It's, with methadone or Suboxone. But here's a big difference and why Suboxone is being more and more commonly prescribed and is sort of trying to replace methadone is that Suboxone is combined with the naloxone or naltrexone. Shit. Um, anyway, it's provide. I think it's naltrexone, but what it is it has a blocking agent with it to where so if you take Suboxone, right, and you get that the opioid like high buzz sort of thing, but you can't take any other. It'll block all the effects of if you try to like. Then also I'll do heroin with this, or give me some of this and give me a little bit of that. No, it will block those effects. It would be the same thing if you're taking naltrexone or like the Vivitrol shot, and it blocks those opiates. So in this very like ingenious way, like the way it was crafted is it creates that sort of feeling, but while blocking out the others. And one big difference again with like from methadone is that it has a sort of like psychoactive effect of supposed to be helping with cravings, which seems strange because it's like providing this sort of feeling, but also helping with cravings. Um, the so where this kind of breaks down is this idea of the medication maintenance sort of treatment, and also in the school of harm reduction as sort of treatment. Again, there's this sort of I would say, you know, controversy or opposing opinions about between like just pure abstinence for recovery and this medication assisted treatment. Now, Suboxone can also be used in a way where it is just a tapering sort of mechanism where you were using heroin and or painkillers or fentanyl. You're really cool, and you're getting off of it, and the withdrawals are super insane. Not just like physically, mentally, psychologically, and the withdrawals are insane, and it's hard to stay off of it because literally your body and mind are screaming, "Please make this stop." There's one way to make it stop and to feel good, or at least feel better. And so it can help with that taper where, like, I know some people, like, at treatment centers, they prescribe Suboxone, and it'll be for like 2 weeks. So you have it, helps you with the withdrawals, and then it cuts down to where at about week 2, then you are completely without anything in your system. Now, some, like, again, medication managed sort of treatment is supposed to last longer. Some can kind of last for a really long time. It's part of longevity. It's supposed to be like a very gradual decline in this tapering thing, where you can just, like, a sort of very, like, it's a rocky, turbulent flight of addiction, and you're just gonna land this thing smoothly. But again, it comes to the idea of where some people, they'll take it, and it is because they just can't. This is one thing I hit on a lot with sort of medication assisted treatment or harm reduction. You you can't you don't you're not able to just drop out of your life and go to treatment for 30 days, and you can't quite quit just on going to recovery meetings, and you can't go through withdrawals. Like, you can't take off work or, like, stop raising your kids and just, like, go through gnarly withdrawals. And that is going off the idea that you'll go through the gnarly withdrawals and totally be clean and sober after that. Like, you'll just stay that way instead of, like, relapsing or just getting back on the train, because it's so painful and incredibly hard. I just Yours truly is super relapsed a lot, and it's been hard to stay sober and clean. And a lot of people find it the same way. I mean, do I really have to say this stuff about, like, addiction? So, in this way, it can be dosed out in this medicinal, clinical, and therapeutic sense too. Where one thing, like a big thing they do with methadone, but more so in this new school of thought with Suboxone as they created it, is also trying to have therapy go with it. To try to, we're not just gonna have you just, like, kind of switch over to this thing and you'll just cruise on this thing and then your life will be that way. We're really, like, a focus on recovery and a focus on, you are changing your life, you're going to get better, and you're eventually going to be totally clean sober, or you're just going to get your life back on track. And we're going to work on learning as you kind of, like, get this thing to kind of help you out, help you stay stabilized, learning coping skills and how to deal with life and all the stuff that during your addiction you forgot how to do or never learned how to do, like me, never even really learned how to do it. um, and so, yeah, within recovery communities, people, it's sometimes uncomfortable. People will be like, "Yeah, I'm clean, sober," and they're on Suboxone, and people are like, "No, you're not, because you're on Suboxone. You're having this thing help you out. You're still getting some sort of medication that produces this feeling." And so, there's this kind of sort of shifty, squinty-eyed, suspicious look at, like, are you in recovery if you're taking this thing that produces a certain effect? And, I am always of this school of thought where, like, do whatever you can. Like, if, like I said, I've taken Suboxone before. Now, I have taken methadone before, actually, at a clinic. There was one time where I was taking Suboxone, and I was taking it to get something. I was trying to, I don't know, do my own DIY, get off drugs plan, and that was stupid. But I was trying it for that same reason, to where I just couldn't totally go cold turkey in this way. But I did want to stop. And so, where people find themselves in this place is that it can truly be helpful. In, again, a part of it is just stabilizing your life. Like, a big thing about this is the idea of meeting people where they're at. Like, if you're raising a family, you're supporting people, or just trying to support yourself, or you talk about, like, the idea of insurance, or what you can do as far as, like, treatment options, or, like, where you're at, living paycheck to paycheck, all that good stuff. Like, what are you able to do? Maybe this is the more realistic sort of approach, but there's any studies about recovery, about addiction treatment are very muddied, because they have to be longitudinal, and a lot of it can be based on self-reporting. A lot of it is just hard to really get true, like, grounded results, because it's, again, everybody's, like, recovery journey is so different, or the recovery sort of missteps or their addiction and like the circumstances they have in their life can totally muddy the waters of how this stuff works. Um, Basically, like I said, the key the overall thing is that it provides this sort of opiate like effect, sort of high. Again, it's that's that touchy word there. But again, it's not like truly like getting loaded or anything like that, I would say. But then it also has this other novel aspect to it where it will can deter you from going back to the hard drugs while you're using it because it blocks them and it's supposed to help with cravings in a certain sort of way. Um, that's what I got for it. I remember taking it and it helped me for like that day, but I wasn't taking it in any sort of medicinal setting or with any sort of treatment or sort of therapy. And so then again on the magical murky topic of medication assisted treatment as opposed to pure abstinence recovery. But there is Suboxone for you in a smallish sort of nutshell. If you're, in case you were wondering, or anything like that for a loved one, if you're just curious and curious for yourself. Anyways, whatever is going on, I wish you or your loved one the best in their struggles or in their success in recovery. And other than that, be well.